Success is not a matter of mastering subtle, sophisticated theory but rather of embracing common sense with uncommon levels of discipline and persistence. In life, you need many more things besides talent. Things like good advice and common sense. Soap and water and common sense are the best disinfectants. Common sense is very uncommon. To become truly immortal, a work of art must escape all human limits. Logic and common sense will only interfere. But once these barriers are broken, it will enter the realms of childhood visions and dreams. I'm not a doctor. I just have a tremendous amount of common sense. In its famous paradox, the equation of money and excrement, psychoanalysis becomes the first science to state what common sense and the poets have long known, that the essence of money is in its absolute worthlessness. I am confident that, in the end, common sense and justice will prevail. I'm an optimist, brought up on the belief that if you wait to the end of the story, you get to see the good people live happily ever after. Common sense is in spite of, not as the result of education. The failure to invest in youth reflects a lack of compassion and a colossal failure of common sense. Caesar was a man of great common sense and good taste, meaning thereby a man without originality or moral courage. We all run the risk of thinking that people have common sense sometimes. With age comes common sense and wisdom. The wisdom of the wise is an uncommon degree of common sense. Knowledge is not just the preserve of the educated elite. Just because someone has not had a formal education, that does not mean he does not have wisdom and common sense. Nonsense is so good only because common sense is so limited. I guess everyone's had an experience when they felt overlooked, ditched, hurt or taken for granted, where they felt like the only one behaving with common sense but still got the short end of the stick. We all feel like the odd one out at some point. First figure out why you want the students to learn the subject and what you want them to know, and the method will result more or less by common sense. Let's not be afraid to speak the common sense truth. You can't have high standards without good discipline. Falling in love consists merely in uncorking the imagination and bottling the common sense. The three great essentials to achieve anything worthwhile are hard work, stick-to-itiveness, and common sense. It is 1,000 times better to have common sense without education than to have education without common sense. Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to. I hate all sports as rabidly as a person who likes sports hates common sense. Most people die of a sort of creeping common sense, and discover when it is too late that the only things one never regrets are one's mistakes. The cradle rocks above an abyss, and common sense tells us that our existence is but a brief crack of light between two eternities of darkness. Common sense often makes good law. Common sense and a sense of humor are the same thing, moving at different speeds. A sense of humor is just common sense, dancing. I read, I study, I examine, I listen, I think, and out of all that I try to form an idea into which I put as much common sense as I can. Science is simply common sense at its best, that is, rigidly accurate in observation, and merciless to fallacy in logic. Death and genitals are things that frighten people, and when people are frightened, they develop means of concealment and aggression. It is common sense. Common sense is that which judges the things given to it by other senses. With the first commandment, Muhammad tried to imprison common sense, and with the second commandment, the beautiful, romantic side of mankind was enslaved. The genius of a good leader is to leave behind him a situation which common sense, without the grace of genius, can deal with successfully. I think Donald Trump taps into an anger that I hear every day. People are angry that a common sense thing like securing the border or ending sanctuary cities is somehow considered extreme. It's not extreme, it's common sense. We need to secure the border. Vanity can easily overtake wisdom. It usually overtakes common sense. Common sense is the most fairly distributed thing in the world, for each one thinks he is so well endowed with it that even those who are hardest to satisfy in all other matters are not in the habit of desiring more of it than they already have. Me is a common sense man. That mean when me explain things, me explain it in a very simple way. That mean if I explain it to a baby, the baby will understand too, you know. My success was not based so much on any great intelligence but on great common sense. Pride or ego is not important to me. What is more important is common sense, the welfare of the company, and the objective reality that we need to be cautious during difficult times. One should not make decisions based on emotions or ego. Common sense is instinct, and enough of it is genius. The philosophy of one century is the common sense of the next. Common sense is genius dressed in its working clothes. We are living in an epoch where there is combat between commercialism, or the system of reckless waste, and communism, or the system of neighborly common sense. Everybody gets so much information all day long that they lose their common sense. Today different ethnic groups and different nations come together due to common sense. I liked Trump's honesty because it was different and had a chance to change the business of politics. What I didn't realize he was missing at the time was a complete and utter lack of preparation, knowledge, and common sense. Common sense in an uncommon degree is what the world calls wisdom. Economists who have studied the relationship between education and economic growth confirm what common sense suggests. The number of college degrees is not nearly as important as how well students develop cognitive skills, such as critical thinking and problem-solving ability. The myths underlying our culture and underlying our common sense have not taught us to feel identical with the universe, but only parts of it, only in it, only confronting it, aliens. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.